Then at the end of the race, we saw the Preece incident where he made it was the most incredible barrel roll I've ever seen. I mean, I finally got to watch the replay as, again, I'm just in the back of the pack, not doing shit. It's under yellow, and I'm cruising around, and they start to play the replay on the big screen. And we used to have a big screen on the backstretch when we had stands there, and now there's there's 4 big screens starting from off turn 4 all the way into turn 1. So they start to play it, and so I'm driving, and I'm looking through the winning net, and I'm looking and seeing him turn and start to flip, and I'm like, oh wow, he got some good air. Oh no! I mean, as soon as his car hit the grass, I don't think I've ever seen one have that many rotations in the air. I mean, not since
Larson's
a U.S.
right?
gymnast have I seen that many barrel rolls before making contact. Holy cow. I mean, we got news that Ryan's out of the hospital on his way to Charlotte now, so it seems like he's fine. He got a tweet from him last night, so I think he's going to be okay, so we can comment on it. But holy, that thing was violent. That was the most violent barrel roll I've ever seen. Usually, you've seen in the old days when the cars would barrel roll, it'd be a little bit slower. The car would dissipate more. His car really kind of stayed together, except for the roof hatch and the winning net. Yikes. Was he the one that was with the Kyle Larson big destroy Talladega? Remember when the door bars, and was he the one that power drove Larson?
Is there him or Busher? I think it was Preece, right? I think it was Preece.
I feel like it was Preece and Larson. So Preece is essentially our crash test dummy for the next year.
Yeah, it was Preece. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Man, whew.
So he's taking 2 good licks this year.
That was just an incredible visual wreck. I'm sure. I don't know. It's hard for me to put myself in that position to feel what he felt, and I was looking to see, like, he was very lucky to not, when he hit the ground each time that it would. So he would the car grabbed, went up, started twisting. Well, then when it comes back down, you don't want it to land flat on anything. And he was very lucky that when the car made contact again for the second time to the ground, it was kind of like on the corner of the car, and it kept rolling. And then it twisted more. The next contact, again, kind of on the side of the car. So he never really had, and I don't want to downplay this, he never had one where, bam, it lands flat on the base of the wheels. He would have risked.
Like Bowman's injury, right?
Correct. He would have risked kind of a spinal compression fracture there if he would have landed dead flat on his wheels, especially with how rigid the bottom of these cars are. Once you've blown the tires out, these things are going to land flat on the stops, and it's going to be harsh. So luckily, it looked like all of his limbs stayed in the car. Nothing big came in the car, even though he was very, very exposed. We have to figure that one out. But man, this was a incredible wreck that NASCAR surely is going to diagnose in the R&D center to figure out what we can do better.
I'm curious. We see in wrecks like Blaney's, which I guess we'll get to shortly here, is that you hit the wall, your body goes forward, right? Does your body move up and down in the car at all? Because he didn't land flat on his wheels, but he did land pretty flat on the roof. So, is there any movement where, your head could hit the ceiling?
Yeah, but let's just say you land on your roof, right? There's enough stretch in your belt that, everyone's pulled tight.
Right.
But it's not a limiting factor. You still have some compression to go up, right? You have a way to go up.
Is there ever any worry that if you were to land flush on your roof, that your head is hitting the top of whatever? In this case,
Yeah. I mean, the halo bar where the winninette is, for some odd reason, was designed. It's closer to the driver's head than what our previous car was. It's it's more sturdy, but it's without a doubt it's closer to our head. You can't argue that fact. I don't know how that bar responded to this wreck. I need to look at more pictures of it, and I'm sure we'll get to see that. But yeah, there's a concern. Absolutely. Your head, I know when I put on my helmet, I have to be very careful not to unlatch the roof hatch. So it's close. I did it during the test at Charlotte, one of the very first next-gen tests. I put my helmet on, and so I leave my helmet and my Hans connected together. I don't put them on separately.
Yep.
I put the Hans over the back of my neck, and when I did that, it unlatched the hatch, and the hatch blew off the first lap of testing.
So
I noticed, I was like, man, it's sunny in here. Like I had a moonroof. It came right out. It was, I mean, let me tell you, that hatch is not,
does that mean
it is not rigid.
Does that mean there's a chance that on this first, I'm watching the crash back on Twitter, that on this first impact when he lands on the roof, that he does unhook it, and that's why it flies off?
No, I think more than likely the compression, when the top of the car started crushing, you know what? This is like the Tupperware. Remember the top of the Tupperware? When my mom couldn't get the top of the Tupperware off. So I'm like, Mom,
it's a plastic container, by the way.
Right, I know, but just squeeze the bottom and the top will pop off.
Yeah.
It's the same. Travis is laughing. You don't think it relates?
I mean, I get it, but I've never had trouble getting the lid off the Tupperware container before.
Well, give my mom a break. She had a very tough time. She's like, and she was in the motorhome. She's like, look at this trick Denny taught me. You just got to squeeze the bottom.
Well, you're leaving out a very crucial part of the story.
What?
Is that, yes, this did happen. She was like, look at this trick that Denny taught me. And then she squeezes it, and the top does not pop off. And she has to pry it off, and it's like, well, Denny was wrong again.
Well,
that's the story.
That Tupperware in particular was... So it was in the one where... I'm sorry, that it doesn't have a tab on the outside of the Tupperware. We're getting so off track, but I need to be clear on this. It's the Tupperware where the top insets into the Tupperware. So there's very little tab, right? It's like the seal is on the inside, not on the outside.
Yeah, if you go to Publix and buy
just squeeze it,
fruit,
boom, pops off.
Yeah.
That's what happened, I think, to his roof hatch, is that the top of the car hit the ground, compressed it, boom, popped out the roof hatch. Because if you saw the roof hatch and like how it's secured, I mean, we're going to add another 100 pounds to this car. This thing's going to weigh 4,000 pounds before you know it, with all this bars and we're going to add. I guarantee the roof hatch is going to be all metal now instead of aluminum. Like, this thing's going to weigh just so much. It's ridiculous. We got to have a next gen 2.0 soon. It's very flimsy. It's flimsy. I mean, we always check right before I go out that, like, make sure that this aluminum hatch device is secured. So I think that the Tupperware top popped off his roof hatch. That's my opinion.
I'm watching the video and I just can't I can't stop watching it.
You know, on Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby flipped down the backstretch, you knew that, like, oh well, they blew that wreck up. They made it more dramatic than what we really crashed. They couldn't create something as exciting or crazy as that was, right? I mean, not if you couldn't drive that thing off a ramp and get more air than that car got.
Yeah. And it helped. The video helps that he's going through the grass because all the grass is flying in the dirt and everything, and it adds to the dramatics.
I know the drivers have been really on this for a long time, but getting rid of the grass, I guess I'm in that camp for sure. Certainly the car doesn't bite as much as it would if it was on. It's not going to change it from getting air. The car is going to get air. It was going airborne way before grass. It's just the grass made it bite, and then that's when it caused it to twirl in the air.
So when it comes back down, the first couple impacts.
Yeah.
Got it.
So what's going through like your mind then when you're just sitting there, and then like, to go from that and then to a restart? Like what's going through a driver's mind?
Well, what's going through my mind is different than what was going through the other 35 guys' mind. I was just sitting there thinking, man, I need y'all to wreck one more time, because the 45 just got the lucky dog, and I'm still sitting back here just watching the race the entire time. But at that point, I started looking at the scoreboard, because obviously my interest shift into, well, what's going on? Who's going to win this race, right? Is Bubba going to get in or not? And I look, in the top 4 were race winners, previous race winners from this year, and I'm like, is someone in a green-white checkered really going to win this from row 3? Probably not. I thought the odds were favorable as long as another caution didn't come. So what my thought was I took the green, and I saw green lights, and I'm laying back just enough to be able to avoid it if it crash happened, but I was still close enough to be able to see it out my windshield to watch the racing. And I'm just thinking, stay green. Like once it got to the white, especially, and I knew my race was over and I wasn't going to get back on the lead lap, I'm thinking just stay green and 6, push that 17 as much as you can. So, but for the competition, they put it out of their mind pretty quick. Honestly, there's not really much. They're just thinking, how are they going to improve their position or give themselves a shot to win?
While we're on the accident topic, let's go back to that first one real quick, the one that caused the red flag, right? The one you were in, that you were close to getting through. I know you saw the replay. What did you make of that? On how it happened, and then the accident itself. Like Blaney's impact is pretty incredible. Yeah,
I didn't see. Did Seabell make contact with Ty, or did he just get loose?
No, he was
pushing
in the corner.
He just can't push in the corner. I mean, I think we all should know by now. You just cannot. You can't push in the corner with these cars. It's just the track is just too slick. Especially turn 4 is by far the slickest corner that we have at Daytona. I don't know why. Maybe the corner's slightly tighter than what it is off 2. I'm not sure. But turn 4 has always been the slickest corner that we've got on super speedways, and you can't push. You just cannot push as long as you're in a corner. I think if the track was 40 degrees cooler, maybe we get away with it. But the teams just have made the cars, they've got less downforce and less drag than they've had when we first came out with this car. So they're just on edge more. We're putting them on the edge more with our setups and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get it. They were pushing, trying to come to the line, but it's just a stage. Like, it's not the end of the world. And yeah, you saw the 54, get pushed from the 20. So he got out of shape, and then it hooked the 12 in a tough spot. Wow. Did you see the wall deflect?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It's pretty incredible. We talk about the safety and all that of this next gen car, but it's pretty incredible that this same accident more or less occurred 22 years ago, and there's a massive difference in the result.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to, equate. Are the impacts the same? Is one more than the other? Certainly, the safety innovations that come up with the Hans being the number one thing. I mean, I don't know if the Hans or the safer barriers. I would say probably the Hans, but it's close. Just the head neck restraint in general has changed the game and certainly made it more safer as far as a fatal impact is concerned. But I mean, Blaney's taken some massive hits in the wall in the next gen, Lucky for us, we've got to hear him talk in an interview afterwards. So it's tough. These things are tough. I mean, his car did deflect more, certainly from the changes that NASCAR's made with the front clip to make them compress more. That certainly probably helped his impact over what the first iteration of next gen was. So it's getting better, but yeah, that's one of those worst case scenario type things where you're driving in a corner and you get sent the other way. It's a bad one.
It's also one of those wrecks we've talked about on the show a handful of times, that these wrecks are more and more coming from the front of the field.
Yep. Yeah, it's just
Blaney was leading the race.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a really long time the worst statistical place to be in the field was 7th to 8th. That typically was the first part of the wreck would get started. And as we've gone to this 2x2 type of racing with next gen, the number is like 2 and 3. It's at the front. So there is no place to hide anymore except for the very back. But if you're in the very back, you lose track position, and unless the field clears itself out, you're not going to win. And when I decided to bail, it was because I assumed the field would clear itself out to be, 10 runnable cars. That's, been pretty typical at that track in the summer race. So if it's 10 cars, then absolutely I can kind of weave my way through there and have a shot to win. But I wanted to not be part of the 26 that got in a wreck, but we never saw that extra big one that we had except for stage 1 or stage 2.
Do you ever see these wrecks and the impacts and think, man, what am I doing? Why am I out here?
Sure. Sometimes. I mean, Charlotte really did it for me. That was the toughest one that I had in next gen, probably ever. That one rung my bell quite a bit. I was really sore for a full week. I still have some lingering effects from that in my foot. So it's just, this car is brutal when it comes to those impacts, but it's what we got right now.